Hi, good morning to all your punters out there. This is a message from Otto, aka Outsider Genie. Now, guys, I want to make this video today to clear up a few things because I have been taking a bit of flack over the last week or two. Results is tough, winners is tough to find. And then I get blamed because people lose their money. Now, first of all, I'm 60, I'm turning 61 of these days. Now, I started my punting career when I was 13 years old. In 1973, we were staying in Alberton near the Newmarket Racecourse, Gosforth Park, Turffontein Val. My father got involved in racing, and he was a medical rep, and he know his medicine stuff. And those days, doping wasn't such a big issue as it was today. So he started helping trainers who's got horses, who's got problems with medicines to cure the problems. He never supplied doping and stuff, but he supplied medicine that could help cure the horses. And some of his, and he didn't charge a cent for it, just the cost of the medicine, I must say that. And he started getting involved with horses, with trainers like Henny van Wyk, Gene Barnard, at that stage, later Gene Hemming, and a few other ones. And I was 13 years old and I was a big lad. And one day he took me to the races and that was it. And then I started studying computer form when I was 13 years old. I used to rush home from school, grab the computer form, spend 3 to 4 hours. I could tell you anything in that computer form. The trainer, the horse, the breeding, everything in that thing. Those days, jockeys were like McCaskill, Rhodes, Raymond Rhodes, Gerald Turner. Those were the days that I started. The Van Boomas was there. Eric Fordred. I've just to name a few. That was the jockeys at that time. So I knew everything every day. I spent about an hour on my schoolwork. I just did whatever was the most urgent to do the rest of the time. And then I sometimes used to bunk the last two periods. I was in Alberton Hoërskool, the Afrikaans version, not Alberton High School. It was the English school, the Afrikaans school. I used to bunk the last two periods to rush to the off course so I can get my bets on before 1 o'clock when the off course closed. And then at one stage, I got a job at Newmarket. I was handing out saddlecloths to the jockeys. And I remember that one day, one thing that stuck in my mind, there was a horse from Des Renault. I don't know if you guys remember Des Renault. And he won a race with that horse, but with an Afrikaans name, Appelster or something like that. I can't remember the name. And the horse was 100 to 1 that day. I'll never forget that. So then I worked in a jockey's room and so forth. And yeah, and then, over the years, I went to study. I used to go to the Bloemfontein Onderwys teach at the Bloemfontein Teachers College. There was a bookmaker's Tattersall's where there was a guy called Jannie Rousseau. At that stage, Jannie Rousseau had the thing that you filled in, and I think he was the guy who first introduced fractional betting because you can take a pick six with him at 10% of the cost. So they called it these 10 cents pick sixes, and I used to play those, and that actually kept me going in my studies, winning those small pick sixes. Yeah, so, and eventually I landed up being an owner, but that is a tale for another day. And here I am now, and I started this service as Outsider Genie. Now, the reason for Outsider Genie's assistance is that, it is very difficult to make money on favorites. I mean, you back a favorite, it loses, then you battle to make that money back, So I always had a tendency, and I don't know, well, I know why, I'll tell you now why, to find outsiders. That has always been my big thing, to find outsiders, and hence the name Outsider Genie. Because through all these years, I think it's 48 years now, due to some that I've been playing horses, I can read the computer form. That is the one thing that I can do good, and I do it well. And by reading the computer form, I look for certain things that points to a horse that can probably improve or be placed or to win. And my idea with Outsider Genie is that you must still do your work. You do your selections. But now if you look at the race and you think, I think this race, there's going to be a few outsiders, but you're not sure what outsiders to go for, then you take my selections and you add that with your selections. And that is what I do. Some people expect me to give 1, 2, 3, 4 race and like a normal tipster. Now, yesterday in the first race, I did my analysis. If you listen to my video, and that's very important, you need to listen to my video because I can't put everything on the betting sheet. And that video most times is for free. I did say that number 8 horse is going to improve. And then there was a horse of Sean Terry that ran a dismal race first time out, 50 lengths behind. And I said in my preview, I'm sure this horse is going to run a better race. And then when I did my selections, I gave a 360 Rand quartet box, which duly won, paid over 6,000 Rand. And I also gave the trifecta in that race. And the horse that won the race was one of my outsider selections. So what I do is I give an outright selection. That's the horse that I think it can win the race at any price, and then 2 outsiders in no particular order. So that is what I do. And then in the second race again, I gave the quartet 360 Rand, and it won, paying over 1,000 Rand. And then during day 1 or 2 of my other selections also won. But there's no person in South Africa. There's no person in South Africa that can give you 8 winners or 9 winners a day. There's this Hollywood Punters Challenge. I think the best they did was 7. But never has anybody won all 8 races on that challenge. So why would people expect me to give them 8 winners a day? I cannot do that. But what I can do is, and what I do is, I cater for everybody. If you're a quartet player, you add my selections to your quartet. If you're a PA player, you add your selections to my selections to your PA. If you're a pick 6 player, that's what we do. If you're a trifecta player, that's what you do. You add my selections. Lately, I've been giving exactas. One of the exactas I gave yesterday, 144 Rand. 144 Rand. You play it 10 times, man, 20 bucks, you win the money. You know, so I just give you the selections. I do the form analysis. And then say I'm done. I'm also being accused, like the other in Cape Town, a horse won at 50 to 1. Then the guy sent me a direct message. Why didn't I gave that horse? Now, as I said before, I am a form analyzer. For me to pick a horse, there must be a reason why I picked that horse. Because if you listen to my videos, you will see, I will tell you, this is the reason why I go for this horse. I don't put the paper down, take a pin and throw it down and say, listen, that is the horse. I give you my reasons. So if there's no reason why I can pick the horse, you know, then unfortunately, I'm also going to miss it. Because there's various things that I look at. I mean, the computer form is so full of information. And then sometimes when I got horses that are close to each other, then I would look at certain other factors, like time per meter and all of that, to determine which one of the 2 I'm gonna pick. But normally, you know, most outsiders shows you something, a 400 to finish, because for me that's one of the best factors in a race, the way a horse finishes off the race. But then you'll see a horse, he finished 7 lengths behind and he ran 8 or 9, and you will discard that horse. But when you look at the column, it says fastest 400 to finish, he ran in a 23.1. That is a good finish. Anything under 23 is better. Anything under 22 is exception. So although that horse didn't run now, today he's running over a longer distance. the pace is not going to be the same, so the jockey can sit a little bit with him and then let him run on. Surely that horse must have a chance. It's not always the horses that finish in the first 3 or 4 in their previous races that you have to look at. You must also look at some other stuff. A few months ago, I gave you guys a 66-1 winner, Kingsley's Heart. I said to you that day, this horse was the first time over 1,600 meters. They gave him 2 sprints. Wire Marvin gave him 2 sprints. And then all of a sudden, we put him over the 1,600 meters. And I can go back to that video because I've got all my videos. And when you listen to that video, you will hear I said that this horse, his starting distance is a 1,600 meters, that he will be effective. He won the race 66-1. And that is what I do. That is what I look for. I'm not a tipster that tip you 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not what I do. I've recently launched this news thing where I also give all to comes, and I give a top all to come, value all to come, and an outsider all to come. And they don't always win. Like the outsider all to come, hasn't won yet, but yesterday it was 100-1. But I can assure you, one of these days, one of those outsider all to comes is gonna win. I've got a member. He pays his 31st of end of the month. He pays his I'm not going to mention his name. You know who he is. The other day he took just my 2 value bets and my best bet in all to come, 25,000 to 100. I mean, he can pay me for another year. He'll still be in the money. So that's what people do. But there's some people, they deem and listen, they'll pay me $1,000 a month. I must just give them 1 horse a day that they can punt. I cannot do that. Because in racing, there's no certainty. And I don't tip horses that's 9-20, 7-20. You can find that yourself. My goodness. I mean, how clever must I be to pick a horse that's 9-20? So even when I give you a top bet, I try to give you a horse that's value. I've given best bets 6-1 and longer. The other day I gave a horse Sweet Sensation or something, Cornespie stable. The horse was 7-2 when I gave it as the best bet of the day. The horse drifted to 11-1 and he still won the race. Because whenever a horse is on 11-1, I was looking if the horse maybe lost a leg on his way to the start because so bad was the drifting, and he won at 11-1. Certainly, that's the information that you want, where you can put on your $500. You don't have to put on the house like on a 9-20. You put 20 rand, you win 9. So you put 2 grand to win 9 rand, 900 rand. If that horse loses, you're going to battle to just get a 2,000 back. I'll never back a horse on that basis. I'd rather take 100 rand and chuck it on a 7-2 shot, 350 to 100. If the horse loses, I can make up the $100 in the next bet. And another thing would just come to mind is when I do my analysis, I sometimes warn you against false favorites that the bookies price up. I say to you, this horse can never be that price. It's too short. They're taking you on a leash. Because, I mean, if I'm a bookmaker and I want to make money, I price up a horse 8-10. Everybody goes for that horse. But I know for a fact that this horse can never be 8-10. He must be like 2-1, 3-1 or whatever. But then everybody keep on punting, so the horse still stays 8-10 because the money is there for the horse. But meanwhile, back in the rounds, there are horses at much better value that people can punt, but they don't because they're thinking that the favorite is the business. And then that's where I came and listen, I don't like this horse, but I think this horse is better value for money. And I can tell you guys, I think 60% of the time, I don't have exact figures, but I'm just taking plus minus 60% of the time, I'm correct. And then the worst practice that you can do, and I see people often do that on this group, to phone trainers, owners, and jockeys. And I apologize for my language, which I'm going to say now, but I can't express it in a better way. Sometimes they know shit. And that is a fact. I've had trainers telling me my horse cannot win, then the horse wins. Or a jockey says, no, he hasn't got a chance, but then the horse wins. Because the trainer will always tell you, man, I think the horse has got a chance. Because if the horse has got no chance, why is he training it? Then he must get rid of it. And then he lose income. And I'm not saying they're doing it on purpose, but they also have to protect their living. So they keep the owner in hope. I want to tell you this story about this two owners. They have this horse. The horse can't win. And then one day the trainer phones them. He says, listen, you guys better come today. I think the horse can win. No, they are there and they watching the race, and the horse is like in the middle of the pack, and there's 2 or 3 horses in front of him. And the next moment, the gap opened up, and all the horses got to do, he must just go through the gap and win the race. Never happened. Now they're very angry. They say to the trainer, you must go and ask that jockey, why didn't he take that gap? Trainer says, no, he'll do that. He come back. He says, now I've spoken to the jockey. Why didn't he take that gap? He said, man, that jockey said that gap was too fast for that horse. And guys, this is how it goes in racing. You've got hope, you've got expectations. So if I'm an owner and you phone me and me, oh no, I spoke to the trainer. The horse has got a chance. Meanwhile, back in the ranch, the horse has got no hope in hell to win that race. So now you go on social media telling everybody, I spoke to the trainer. Well, that gives you bragging rights. I've spoken to the trainer. And the owner says, the trainer says, this horse is ready. Hell, let's go, guys. And then the horse finished last or second last or first last, and you can't understand why. Because you lend out your ears. Listen to a professional like myself. I also see in these groups wannabe tipsters. Guys, they can tip, but their tips comes nowhere. Then I also saw on social media other tipsters asking 700 Rand a month, 1,000 Rand a month, 2,000 Rand a month. And here's Outsider Genie. I charge the guys 300, 400, 500 Rand for my information for my knowledge that I've gained over the years. Then I advertise a service, Dr. Genie. You guys spent hundreds of rands on punting, but you've got no idea what you're doing. So I said, listen, book a Zoom meeting with me. I'll charge you, I said, I think it was 250 Rand for just under an hour. There's no money. You know what, guys? I got one booking. And that person that I talked to that day, that same day, he backed 100 Rand, he made 700 Rand. So he had his 250 Rand back, and he was still in the money, and he gained valuable information, which he can use in the future. No, if I need legal advice, I go to a lawyer. If I need doctor's advice, I go to a doctor, medical advice. And here's Dr. Genie, Outsider Genie, who can help you, and I will help you, and I'm sure my advice is worth more than the money I charge you. I know everything. Dr. Genie, he can't teach me shit. Unbelievable. So I'm not ranting and raving. I'm just talking to you guys, telling putting things in perspective. If you are serious about your punting and you are serious about making money, would you rather speak to the guy on the group who knows nothing, who phones jockeys, trainers, and every day he's got another information from another thing, or would you rather speak to an expert who's got nearly 50 years experience in racing? And then another thing I want to bring up, there's so many of you guys sitting there longing to just be a part of a horse, to have ownership. I've been advertising. I said, listen, man, I can help you. You can get into the racing game for as little as 500 to 1,000 Rand a month. And you're a part owner. Doesn't matter if you own the tail, 1 feet, the ear, doesn't matter. It doesn't stand in a race car. It says you're an owner. No takers. No. That is too much. 1,000 rand a month. Wow, no, that's too much. But you lose 3,000-4,000 in a meeting. So here I am. I've got this experience. I, at one stage in my life, had over 200 horses. I had my own stables at the Wall, 50 of them. All my horses. I've bought horses that has won many races. I was once part of a horse called Q-Few. He won 2 future races at Germiston. I forgot the name now, but well-known races. He ran in the J&B meet. I've had winners. I've picked horses on sales. Unfortunately, yeah, in 2009, when everything went bust, I also went bust. I lost everything. Just my horses was probably more than 3, 4, 5 million rand. I don't know. Unfortunately, I was a developer at that stage, and the banks wouldn't give bonds, and everything just imploded. But we go on. I've got the knowledge. But no one wants to use my knowledge. No, we know it all. So to just conclude my video, and if you want to make use of my experience, my number will be below here in the box. Contact me. Subscribe to my service. I'm sure the value you'll get out of that is far more than you will lose. And maybe if you want to get involved in racehorse ownership, talk to me and let's see what we can do for you. Maybe you've got a grand or 2 or 3 lying around and you want to get involved. I can see how I can help you. And if you have those who are watching this video, I thank you for watching and listening to me. And I'm not ranting and raving. I'm just discussing because do you know why? I have got a passion for racing for my whole life. And that's just the way it is. One of my ex-wives said that she thinks she's going to have to go for surgery and make her face into a horse face. Oh, I had a laugh that day on that thing. But yeah, that's just the way it is. So I greet you. I hope you've got a great day. And maybe somewhere along the line, we can meet and talk and discuss our passion on racing. I do thank you. Have a great day. Break a leg.